Now, yesterday, the country lost at least 11 people who were killed during demonstrations in 17 counties. That's what the papers are reporting, but also in our platforms. Raila Odinga came out in the evening and has a bit of prescription. Let's watch what he said he thinks should be done.
I was going to go to Kamkunji to join other Kenyans in commemorating this very important day. Unfortunately, as you all know, circumstances, today the roadblocks all over town, which has made it difficult for people. Your rogue police force that shoots people with impunity. And this is a force that we inherited from the colonialists. It has not been reformed to become a people's defender, a people's servant. Such a national conclave must have a clear terms of reference and be populated and helmed by the most serious and sober minds in our nation. The proceeds of the national dialogue be subjected to a referendum.
All right, Raila Odinga is proposing a national conclave to conduct the intergenerational dialogue. If you look online, a conclave is a private meeting specifically referring to the gathering of cardinals to elect a new pope in the Roman Catholic Church, but also there's a provision of what a conclave could be, which entails private or confidential meeting. Fred, we're at a press conference. What shape is that conclave supposed to take, and why the choice of that word in the first place?
Thank you, Sam. First of all, I really sympathize with the Kenyans at this moment. We are at a time when we are facing challenges. Sabasaba was a very important day, and it still remains an important day, because it is through Sabasaba movement that today we enjoy a multi-party democratic state grounded on the principles of governance and national values. And to that extent, it is an important day. Because of this civic unrest that we have witnessed in the recent past, the proposal by Prime Minister Raila Odinga is a proposal that will bring a multi-stakeholder to the table to reimagine this country again. And I'm not very much concerned about the word conclave, but I'm concerned about the context and the rationale of Raila Odinga's proposal. The context and rationale of Raila Odinga's proposal is that the escalating civic unrest is something that is worrying anyone. Political players, religious leaders, businessmen, the education sector, everyone. Because the media is reporting deaths. It means after every maandamano, there are deaths registered. Number two, the context and the rationale of Raila Odinga's proposal is that of socio-economic exclusion, particularly the young people that have gone out and they've said they have been excluded, they are unemployed, they want to be included. The other aspect of Raila Odinga's proposal is institutional breakdown, where institutions, for some reasons, are now failing. So Raila Odinga is plugging into that. And lastly, what we would call historical moment, the Sabasaba. It is Raila Odinga's view that we must now move from confrontational protest into constructive civic dialogue that will offer solution. Truth be told, Sam, we all agree as political competitors that the escalating civic unrest will not make this country any better. Whether you don't want the government of the day, whether you want it, but for as long as the civic unrest is sustained, then all of us are going to lose. And therefore, I agree with Raila Odinga. When, as an elder, he has come out and made a proposal, that proposal can only be subjected to, input by people saying, okay, fine, this is a proposal that we agree with, we can make it better. I submit some by saying
Yeah.
That if you look at these numbers are as a result of death. Some are caused by police, some are caused by goons, and the damage of the property in millions. The damage of property is in millions. Today, there are families that are waking up to nothing. They have no source of livelihood anymore. And that's why the national conversation is important. We have done this before, Sam. This country has seen worse things. If you remember the 2007, 2008, it is through dialogue that today we can speak on this table and address issues of concern and articulate these issues as a result of a new constitution. If you remember 2017, there have been issues that have come every time. But today you can imagine we are fighting a war that we don't even know where it's coming from, where it's going. So to answer you, I think the proposal of the Intergenerational National Conclave by Raila Amolo Odinga is a proposal that should provoke the thoughts of many leaders by asking themselves, how do we engage the protesters? Because these protests are constitutional. It is Sabasaba that has brought the provisions of 37 that allows peaceable demos. But look, in that peaceable demos, we still have infiltration by goons, we still have police brutality, we still have damages to property, we still have deaths.
Okay.
How do we sit down as a country? And I wish we listen to what Raila Odinga said.
You said that protests are coming and the genesis is not known. I'm paraphrasing. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's what you're saying. Is that so?
I am saying this protest, remember yesterday was supposed to be a commemoration of Sabasaba.
No, please, if I'm wrong in what I said, just tell me.
No, you are wrong. So I'm correcting you. Yesterday was supposed to be a commemoration of Sabasaba. Ideally, we were supposed to celebrate the heroes of Sabasaba as we reflect where we've come from and what we can do better. But it ended up in a protest.
So the cause of yesterday's protest is not known? The
cause of yesterday's protest is said to be the concerns by the young people that they are unemployed, the life is difficult, and so on and so forth. So it is an accumulation of so many things.
If there's a difficulty in diagnosing what the problem is, so what...
There's no difficulty, Sam. You know very well. There's no difficulty.
It's not known.
No. I am saying, do you know the cause of looting? What was the cause of looting supermarkets?
Fred, I'm asking a question. You'll give me the answer. So if there's that difficulty, so how then does a conclave help? What structure must it take?
Some people have argued that we have had so many of these discussions, these dialogues. But let me tell you why some of the resolutions have never been implemented. Because we have always lacked an implementation framework. It is my hope.
What resolutions?
It is the resolution of every dialogue. You have had NADCO. We have got resolution from NADCO, recommendations. They have gone through Parliament. We got the amended Act of IBC. But there are issues that have not been addressed up to now. Is there a way that we can go back and sit as a country and say, we have come from this far.
Yeah.
Why is it that we are not able to end police brutality? Why is it that we are not able to strengthen devolution? Why is it that we are not able to offer employment to the young people? Why is it that we are not able to ensure that we adopt the police reforms? You have had Maraga Task Force and others. Why is it so difficult?
Okay, all right.
We must go down and agree as a nation. And in that agreement, you must sit and dialogue. Raila Odinga has embraced coming together of the people. As an elder.
Let
me just finish.
No, I need to hear from the other panelists. It's okay what you're saying. Senator Manzo, how do you resolve this particular matter? And does that proposal by Raila Odinga promise a resolution in the future?
First and foremost, it's a good proposal. But the question is, how do you implement the outcome of that conclave? And by conclave, it means then you are going to have delegates. Because every Kenyan cannot participate. Most probably we're going to have
representation
of the church, representation of the youth, because he's calling it intergenerational. So it means we are going to have all the generations represented. And I think the country has totally missed it. The Gen Zs who started this were very peaceful. Then it got politicized, and therefore politicized goons were sent to interfere with the good intentions of the Gen Zs. And then robbery came in, because what is happening there is robbery. Then we saw people stopping protests with the, with the djembe sticks and all that. And the police are supposed to be there to make sure that there are peaceful demonstrations. And the law is very clear what happens in case a peaceful demonstration stops being peaceful. And unfortunately, that law has not been followed even by the police. There has been developed, in the last 3-4 years or so, a culture where when there is a peaceful demonstration which has been notified properly, the police starts, instead of doing a proper proclamation, they start by either firing live bullets or tear gas, and that is what irritates the people, and the rest of other things follow. So I think as much as you want to have a discussion and a conclave which ends up in a referendum, meaning in a constitutional amendment, I don't think we'll have addressed the issues. The issues are more political. The country is unhappy with the politics of the day. The country was unhappy with the finance bill. Eventually, the leader of majority in the National Assembly boasted that although you demonstrated, we still sneaked in the amendments of the finance bill with time. A new finance bill has come into force. Kenya's situation has not changed. There's so much corruption. I don't know how this conclave is going to address corruption. The biggest problem which is causing all this unrest is corruption. The wearing, the destruction of institutional frameworks. You find if it is the police investigators, they present very weak evidence in court, and a very corrupt person is acquitted. You find that EACC is interfered with, the courts are interfered with, the prosecution or DPP office is interfered with. It has powers under the Constitution to enter nolle prosequi. And you find somebody who is known to have stolen a lot of monies. The ODPP no longer prosecutes them. They find themselves in cabinet and they are serving. We've got also a very weak cabinet. We have seen what has happened and how many times the president has tried to rearrange and even get experts from ODM who have been useful but still frustrated. So the problem is one of leadership. And the best way to sort out this problem is not far away. First of all, the young people must register as Kenyans. Most of them are not. They must acquire an ID card so that they may be able to register as voters. And in the next election, Kenyans vote. I've heard a lot of Kenyans say, I'll never vote again. This is what is causing the problem we have. 8 million Kenyans did not vote last time. And then, of course, we need an IBC which is balanced, which is free and fair, which has no issues. No one has issues on it. And just like we have a stalemate now of somebody's name which was sneaked into IBC and then it's back to court and there's no IBC up to now. We need an arbiter of these elections. And also, once Kenyans vote, they need to protect the vote. And that's how to get a better government which will address all these issues and Kenyans will be happy with. I think the final, resolution to this is a better government. Unfortunately, the current government has failed Kenyans, in a manner of operation. And the Kenyans are very, very bitter. The people who have been killed should not have been killed at all. Okay. Every time you kill a member of a family, you give that family a different trajectory in life. And therefore, it is very important. The government is there first and foremost to preserve life and to protect property. So if we are not doing that as a government, we are annoying the people, and the fight against the people can never be won by the government through the gun. Okay. The fight against the people is a fight of liberation, and I believe they will liberate themselves. The first opportunity is to liberate themselves through the vote.
Now, yet, Mheshimiwa Wandeto, yes. Yes, the conclave can happen, conversations can be held. We've had national dialogue, what was the name? Committee? was a committee, right?
Yes, yes.
National Dialogue Committee that came up with resolutions. If you look at the membership, I mean, it's largely from the political class, especially looking from Parliament and those that are outside Parliament. No solutions are being implemented. In any case, after NADCO, then you saw Raila Odinga joining government, and we have what we have now. So can Kenyans trust the political class to lead that conclave or conversation or dialogue to resolve issues?
Sam, first of all, allow me to pass my condolences to all the families that lost their loved ones yesterday, and to wish a quick recovery to the dozens of people, including police officers, who have been injured yesterday. As to whether the political class can be trusted to midwife the rebirth of this country, we have some bit of work to do. We've lost quite a bit of trust with the people. And what we require is something that just cuts across just more than the political divide. We have to bring in religious leaders, and I said here last week in a show with Ayub that it is time that we brought back civil society, we brought back religious leaders, the political class, of course, but more importantly, representatives of the youth. Because if there is a segment of the population that you can see is very, very agitated about what is happening in the country, it is the youth. They have no access to jobs, they have no access to opportunity, and it appears that we continue to create an unequal society every day by the actions that we are taking. So way forward, even before we get into this conclave or the national dialogue, I think there are certain prerequisites that are within our powers. We do not need any meeting to be able to do. One is to end police brutality. We do not require any meeting. I think just that requires some executive decision at the top that we are going to end police brutality. We must also end abductions. We must remove goons from protest, from helping the police manage protests. And I think it's now common knowledge that there looks like there's a segment of people working together with the police, to brutalize, Kenyans. We must stop the intimidation of opposition leaders. As we speak, Sam, the member of parliament for Manyata was arrested last night. We are yet to see the charges but I'm sure there'll be trumped up charges of incitement, the usual fashion, which is nothing more than intimidation of opposition leaders. But more importantly, like Manzo has...
Do you know why he's wanted?
We are yet to see the charges today.
No, I'm not asking about the charges. Do you know why he's wanted?
I'm not 100% sure. I think it's to be the usual, I think the mention was incitement. I think that was the word that was used, incitement.
You find yourself and the terrorist court.
Yeah, so it's the usual. But some more importantly, how do we as a country start taking steps towards good government? The frustration with the people of the youth in this country is, while we are telling them there are no jobs, there are no opportunities, there is no money, the way we behave daily as leaders, we are actually projecting a complete opposite picture. We appear to be living in luxury. We are able to afford empowerment programs where we are donating millions every day, 7 days a week. I think now these empowerment programs are in their second consecutive month, almost non-stop, and all the other things that we are doing in this country. So how do we bring, some sort of sanity into government? Because, Sam, how many more bodies must we collect in the street? How much more blood must be shed? How many more women must shed tears and families and communities be left devastated until the voice of reason is loud enough in our heads? Today, if we think, and some they say, if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. Unfortunately, this government appears to only have one tool, which is brute force, brutal force, oppression, So how does the government expand its toolkit in addressing the youth, this youth agitation? It cannot be guns and armored personnel vehicles and more violence. More violence will just beget more violence. Okay. How do we finally at least start doing things that send a signal that, look, we are ready to reform, we are ready to rebirth a new Kenya? But will this be done by the political class alone? I don't think so. It's got to be a multi-pronged approach.
Now, CS Kipchumba Murkomen last evening released a post on X, says that this evening I went around Nairobi City to thank our law enforcement officers who are on duty to ensure the safety of our people and the security of their property. Thanks to their efforts and other officers across the country, incidents of violence, looting and destruction of property were markedly reduced today compared to last week. We are committed to ensuring that demonstrations and protests are peaceful and orderly. Then says the criminals who wreaked havoc on the June 25th demonstrations have already been charged in court. Likewise, those responsible for today's incidents will also be investigated and charged. Now, of course, says that while the inconvenience faced in accessing places of work today is regrettable, the heightened security measures were necessary to ensure the safety of our people and the security of their property and businesses. In that entire statement, there's no recognition or acknowledgement that people died yesterday, but it is
obsession with property.
It is.
We saw it in Parliament last week when the motion to discuss June 25th.
You've had your time. Senator Sigei, what is your diagnosis of, because you've seen all the actors, you've seen the people, you've seen the political class, you've seen the opposition, you've seen Raila Odinga, you've seen the government. What is your diagnosis of what we have and the solution?
I got the opportunity yesterday to sit through almost the entirety of the day, I must say. And I had this conversation with my 6-year-old Liz, who was asking me questions about what is going on, because we could watch from the screens what was going on. And a conversation she had shortly before she closed school last week.
Sorry, Senator Sigei, I think we have lost your mic. We'll need to fix that before we can continue hearing you. So
I hope this will...
Yes, it's okay. As you fix that, I wanted to take a look at some of the concerns that people are expressing. Jesse is saying these leaders know what is required of them. Why don't they do it instead of talks that never bear any fruits? Does creating jobs for the youth require conclave or whatever it is they want to call it? That is Makale Jesse. All education money should go to the Minister of Education and make education free from primary to university. MP's work is to legislate, represent and oversight. That is horror. Or is it Horace? Yes, you were saying something much more.
I was saying that I had the opportunity yesterday to sit through the whole day and look at what was going on. And it's very sad. And I must, first of all, of course, send my condolences to the families who lost their sons and daughters, loved ones, husbands, in the course of all these demonstrations. This is not what we would want to be looking at as Kenyans. And some, we are consumed on bad news every day. And bad news is not like wine. It doesn't get better by age. It actually worsens. And when my 6-year-old Liz asked me what was going on, and she asked me about the 2 bombs that were used in the Second World War, remember Sam, she's 6 years old. They had this conversation last week in school before they closed. I sat back and asked myself bigger questions. Where are we headed to as a country? We have had demonstrations before. Sabasaba, which was supposed to have been a commemoration day, has been happening from 1990. We have had it all through. We have had demonstrations, but we have never gotten to the status where we are in as a country, where demonstrations, which are constitutionally provided, it's supposed to be free and peaceful. We no longer get there. It has changed to something else. We are in a chaotic society. The demonstrations and the chaos is a roller coaster. You wake up one minute, People are saying we will be going on Sabasaba, now Nane, Tisa. That is not the direction where we should be going as a country.
What is the diagnosis? What is the problem?
This is something that we as a country must, at our personal level, at our level as individuals, and now as leaders, look beyond. The youths are complaining, and honestly so, unemployment. So many of them are looking for jobs. They've got nothing to do. They've gone to school. They are graduates. They are very intelligent people. There are no jobs. But then the answer is not what happened yesterday. The number of supermarkets that were burned down yesterday led to over 1,000+ jobs lost. So if we continue this chaos, we will not be resolving the problem. We'll be losing more opportunities. How many families lost? Many.
So
and when you look at now what this is happening, it's a, you know, the truth is ageless. It's something that we must tell ourselves. When you look at what happened on 25th, the specific places where this chaos were experienced, and yesterday the same thing, the specific places where this chaos was seen, it is confined to a certain political formation where people are saying, because in my county, Bomet, for example, nothing like what we experience in Ngong, in Kitengela, in Thika was seen, and almost across majority of other counties. So this particular chaos, which is actually conducted by criminals, is sort of confined to certain places where the Gachagua supporters are saying we need to be felt. We need to also have this conversation and tell our people the truth, because when we lose 1,000 jobs in a day and someone is saying we will make sure that you exit the way Senator Manzo said. There is a process of getting someone out of office. Today, William Ruto is the president of Kenya, who was elected by the people of Kenya, the majority then. If we say we want him to go, the problems that we have as a country will not be resolved within a day, or whoever comes into office will not resolve.
So I hear your diagnosis.
And therefore,
what is the solution?
The solution is not necessarily a conclave, for example, because we have had NADCO. We have the report of NADCO in the House. We had representations on all of them, on all major stakeholders in NADCO. We have had other engagements before. This is something that requires much more than a conclave.
Which is what?
Which is the political class. First of all, avoid inciting their people. Every day when you get a hold of the mic and you tell the Gen Zs you're doing a good job, which good job includes burning people's property and killing and also destroying property.
So you actually think that all this is because Gachagua is speaking?
He's inciting the public almost every day. So telling the people, look,
the problem, the Kenyans who are coming on the streets is because Gachagua is speaking.
That is part of the problem. It is not the only problem.
And the solution is Gachagua to stop inciting.
Not only him alone, and other politicians. Right now, we're talking about our colleague, the Honorable Mukunji of Manyata, the MP. There was a clip that was going around in the social media yesterday, and I believe that is what led to his arrest. And we will, of course, get to know what charges are going to be put across against him. Part of that clip was depicting some sort of an excitement kind of where you are inciting the youths who are already very desperate. They don't have a job. They've gone to school. They are struggling. We just need to have a conversation as Kenya beyond.
I hear your take on this. So Raila Odinga said that in that conclave, where did it go? There should be very clear terms of reference and be populated and helmed by the most serious and sober minds in our nation. I don't know who those people are. Let's take a look at the feedback that has come to us. Citizen TV Kenya, as Sam Gituku, the hashtag to use is Citizen Daybreak. This is Okello Mwalimu.
Very sad.
Feedback on the two conversations on CDF, as well as the situation in the country, the future of the nation. NGCDF has positively impacted on the lives of uncountable Kenyans. Scrapping it would be both that word and counterproductive. This decision would terminate dreams of many children who depend on it. The best we can do is to completely delink it from political gimmickry. Oh, wow. New words. Gabi Wakasiaka, MPs are meant to legislate, not implement, but the CDF has diverted many of them from this core duty, shifting their focus to construction and development of projects, often used as tools to win over voters rather than push for real policy reform. Godi Baraza, Parliament only seems to come alive when passing laws that give them more control over public funds. Anything that falls outside their personal gain is either treated as secondary or ignored altogether. Leonard Masika, you say, let's be honest, any bill that touches on money is almost guaranteed to pass. My only humble request is that any amendments made should benefit Kenyans, not just a select few. Unfortunately, for far too long, it has always been about them, not us. How long will citizens continue to be oppressed? May 2027 come faster. Frank Orinde, instead of MPs using CDF as a political tool, why not consolidate the fund to create a universal free education program? Splitting it across constituencies fuels favoritism and tokenism. A national approach would deliver real impact, equity over expediency. That's what Kenyans are saying this morning. Of course, so much feedback that has come to us, including Professor Naituli, who is watching the show and also sharing his feedback, especially that saying the country is imagined in the Constitution, and says that we should be careful how we look at the Constitution, saying that Raila Odinga is no longer the liberator he once claimed to be, and he's now working with the government. So sorry to disappoint you. We don't have solutions this morning, but the conversation continues. Senator Hilary Sigei, Mheshimiwa Geoffrey Wandeto, Senator Dan Manzo, and Fred Okango for making time for us. Let's protect our country and perhaps reimagine it. My name is Sam Kituku. See you again some other time. Bye for now.